Just a quick little warning about the safe mode. The other day I was trying to reorder my rules so that the most often used rules would be at the top, which would increase efficiency. We've discussed this in previous videos. So I put on the safe mode because I don't want to lock myself out in the process, and I want to adjust everything, consolidated a few rules, got all finished, said okay, I'm going to go ahead and back this up. So I backed it up. I'm all fat, dumb, and happy, and I close everything out. Next time I come back and open up the system, and they're still in the old sequence. Nothing was changed. I thought, what the heck will happen here? So I said, oh, I don't know, I'll restore the backup. I know it's in the backup, so I restored the backup. Same thing. As it turns out, I forgot to turn off safe mode. If safe mode is turned on, that's great while you're making changes. If you lock yourself out, it'll reboot and come back and undo the last thing that locked you out. The problem is you have to remember you're in safe mode, so you get involved in what I was involved in, making all these changes. I forgot I was in safe mode, so it didn't save any of my changes. So that's just a little tidbit to keep in mind. If you go to use safe mode, you have to turn it off once you're sure everything's okay. Otherwise, none of your work gets saved. In this drawing, we're looking at my configuration of computers here at my location. And the purpose is to discuss the disadvantage of having computers connected together. If you notice on this drawing, the internet's over here. There's an ISP feeding a cell tower nearby. There's an ISP feeding my router on port Ether 1. And Ether 2 is connected to one of my PCs. Ether 3 is connected to another one of my PCs, which are desktop PCs, cable connected. Then I got this PC number 3 is connected through Wi-Fi back to the router, and PC 4 is connected through Wi-Fi back to the router. So I've got 4 computers here that are all connected to the router. The router is default configured as far as ports go. All the ports are on this one bridge. Therefore, all the ports can see each other. Now you can break up ports, not have them all on the same bridge. I'm doing this because this is a default configuration when you get your router. So the problem with having all these guys connected, if one bad apple picks up a virus, the virus can run through functionally to all 4 of these computers and the router itself. If your iPhone's out somewhere and it picks up a virus from either a cell tower or from someone else's Wi-Fi, when it connects to your Wi-Fi, guess what? Now it's logically connected to these other 4 computers. So this is not a good thing. You don't know where this iPhone's been or what it connected to. Same if you have a visitor. If a visitor comes to your location and wants to use your Wi-Fi, you don't know if there's viruses on that Wi-Fi device or not. So what we want to talk about in this lesson is how to isolate things, and there's numerous ways to do that. We're going to pick just 2 ways today and demonstrate the differences between those 2. So let's get started by looking at the router itself. At this point, we have to correlate these IP numbers to physical addresses, and I did it this way because I didn't know what the physical addresses would be once I connected all these devices, and the router did DHCP address distribution, so I wasn't sure who would get what. So I just called the router IP1. You notice down here, IP1 is the address of the router, and it's on the LAN. It's cable connected. IP2 is .246. It's also on the LAN, cable connected. And IP3 is 253. It's also on the LAN, it's cable connected. And PC3, I should say IP4, is .251. It's on the Wi-Fi. And IP5 is .244, and it's on the Wi-Fi. So how do I make this distinction? How do I know these 2 are in different cases? Because up here it just shows the leases, shows you what's on there. Well, if you go up to your wireless tables and look at your registration, you'll see that these 2 guys are on the LAN, on the wireless LAN, which is Wi-Fi. But you notice they go by MAC addresses, so we got to come back over here and convert this address for the Wi-Fi 251. And if we go looking for 251, we'll see that the MAC address is 72A. Well, 72A is that one, so I know that that's on the Wi-Fi. Same with 244. If I go up here and look at the registration on the Wi-Fi for 244 here, first if I look at the listing here, I'll find 4AF8 is the MAC address, and up here 4AF8 is registered on the Wi-Fi. So that's how I know that these two computers are connected via Wi-Fi. And the rest of them have physical cables. That's how I know they're connected to the LAN. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to change the Wi-Fi part of it. If you go to your Wi-Fi settings, if I can get this to work, look down here, it says default forward. What that means is every Wi-Fi user can see every other Wi-Fi user, and they can actually communicate with each other. If we turn the default forward off, then they won't be able to communicate with each other. The question is, can they communicate with the LAN with the default off? So that's what we're going to prove in the next step. All four computers are running and they're all connected to this LAN network. So let's start with this computer here. This is the desktop. He's address 246, and I proved that with the IP config. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try pinging the other three. So I'm going to ping the router. You notice I can talk to the router, Control-C exits. So next I'm going to ping the Linda Spire 253. And that works fine. Control-C to exit. Next I'm going to ping the Pi 0 on Wi-Fi 251. Notice it pings no problem. And last but not least, I'm going to ping the Pi 400, which is 244. It pings just fine. And I'll ping myself, which is the desktop 246. So everything has connectivity. The thing to keep in mind here is when Windows 10 is involved, I had a ping lesson earlier, and it talked about how you have to configure the networking to make the pings work between computers. So for the same reason, I can't take one of these other Linux computers and ping my Windows 10 because I don't have that security feature disabled right now. It's a little risky. I just don't want to do it. Just know you can't ping a Win 10 computer unless you take precautions that are specified back in the lesson on pings. So next I'm going to go up here and I'm going to turn off the default forward. So the Wi-Fi clients should not be able to see each other. So let's see if we can see them. So we'll go back. I'm going to come back and I'm going to ping the Pi 0, which is 251. And I can ping him. And the other one, Pi 400, 244. And I can ping him. When I go over to the other video, which shows me pinging from the Pi 400, we'll take a look at those results. Okay, now we're over here on the Pi 400 machine. The address is 244, which we show right here. So this is the right machine. Now I'm going to try pinging the other Wi-Fi machine, 251. So somewhere in here. You notice it pings just fine. And we also want to see if we can ping a device on the LAN. Remember the desktop over here, that's a Windows machine, so I wouldn't mess with that. We use 253, which is the Linux Mint. So next we'll do 253. Yes, we can connect to that. And we'll do the router itself, which is .1. So we can connect everything from the Wi-Fi location. So now let's go up here in our web fig. We're going to select the WLAN 1. And we scroll down here to find this choice right here, default forward. I'm going to uncheck default forward, and after that then the Wi-Fi connection should be able to see each other. So we have to go up here and save it, say and apply. Okay, now I'll come back down here and we'll run these tests again. We'll go ahead and we'll ping 1 to the router. We'll try to ping 253, 253, which works fine. And we'll try pinging the other Wi-Fi, which is Pi 0 251. Notice it can't ping it. So when we went up here and we changed this configuration, when we default forward, we don't allow default forward anymore. Wi-Fi machines, these two can't talk to each other. They can still talk to other things. I'm not sure what happened on that 88.1. Let's try it again to confirm why that didn't seem to work. Yeah, it did work. I don't know what was going on up there. Some fluke. Alright, so the Wi-Fi machines can't see each other, but they can see all the LAN people. So all you've done is isolate the Wi-Fi users from each other. You haven't protected your LAN in any way, shape, or form. So the next part of this project is to show how to protect the LAN users from each other and from the Wi-Fi users. That gets a little complicated, so we're going to start a new lesson on that. Default forward, that means between the Wi-Fi connections only. So it's basically up here in this drawing. It's X2, X2 here. It's not this X2, so this X2 is wrong. So I will take that out, because this still works. These guys can still talk to these guys, except for the Windows machine, and we know why. So this concludes this lesson showing how default forward unchecked will in fact isolate Wi-Fi clients from each other, but not from the rest of the LAN.